Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today, we have Brandon.
Hi.
We're here to talk about games and things.
Y'all.
Oh. It's on the agenda today. WarioWare Move It's out. So I played that. I can talk about that. You got some Call of Duty to play. I have some other random things to talk about, I suppose. But yeah, that's really what we're looking at. Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll start with WarioWare. That's new and exciting. So, I don't know. It's basically... So, if you're going to break it down, it basically is WarioWare Smooth Moves, except with the Switch, which is good, because that's what you want. Mm-hmm. But it still does have Waggle Edition, the Wii Edition issues, because they're going to run into some of those weird motion control issues, like usual. So, what have I played so far? I played most of the mini games, micro games, I suppose.
Okay.
That are in there. I only have a handful left that I have not unlocked. I'd say less than 20 for sure. Probably less than 10 that I haven't played. So I mean, granted, there could be some really freaking weird ones in there that might be worth talking about it. But I would be surprised. I think I've seen kind of the breadth of the big things that are there. So game is fun. It is WarioWare. It's definitely more WarioWare than whatever the last one was, which I can't even remember what it's called now. It wasn't even out that long ago. But yeah, so this one definitely is still kind of like crazy chaotic WarioWare. You don't know what you're going to be doing. Has like, its quirky little micro games, which, can be random from basically pretend you're a chicken shitting out an egg to, let's play guitar real fast. So they have that, and just like the Wii version too, it does have kind of these different poses that you have to go into, and they all have like cute little names like the Choo Choo or the Knight, or just kind of like different ways that you hold it. So, and that kind of inherently is where the first issue is with this game. So I will say, overall, I did like this game. I probably should say that before I start kind of nitpicking things, especially since there are issues with like the motion controls. But it kind of falls into the two categories. One of them is this always happens with WarioWare. So it's not surprising. And that category is you have a mini game and you don't know what the fuck to do. So, it's like a mini game pops up fast and it'll just be like, do something. And then you'll be like, how? And then the game ends. Because you only have 3 to 5 seconds to respond. And so, yeah, there's quite a few mini games like that. I mean, most of them you don't have a problem figuring out. There's a couple where I'm just like, no fucking clue. There's a couple I still don't know. I haven't gone back to the museum to kind of like figure them out, but I'm like, don't know what you're looking for. Don't even have a clue what you're looking for. I'm not even in the same ballpark as what you're looking for. I'm just completely at a loss. So you do get some of that. Some of it's very random. And then the other side of it is, you kind of have some issues with the motion controls, because it does its best to explain to you how to do them. It shows you kind of like a 3D image of how to do it. But if you are not quite exactly the way that it wants it, it's going to cause some issues when you're playing. One of I think maybe the best example for this is I don't even remember what the pose is called now. But it's one where you're holding like the Joy-Cons up to both sides of your face. And so you're holding them up there. But I wasn't holding them the way that it wanted. I was holding them at too much of an angle. So when I was trying to do the motions, it was not registering them the way that it was supposed to. It was giving me some movement, but not the right exact movement. And eventually I figured out if I held them differently, then it worked perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
So that seemed to be kind of more the issue. But you think about it in terms of like, hey, let's get my buddies together who never played this game before. It gets a little bit harder to be like, well, you're holding the controller wrong. Granted, I haven't played multiplayer. I know there is some cool looking co-op stuff. Well, actually, there are a couple different modes. Co-op, they have some competitive stuff. They look really fun. Like one of them I saw actually is like co-op mode where, like one of the micro games is like you're feeding like a hippo. And so in this scenario, one of you is the hippo, like in the normal game, and then the other person is the one who's feeding them. So you work together to kind of complete the missions that way. But anyways, yeah. So setback. But yeah, so it's a little bit harder, to get those poses across, and especially because you're going through, I don't know, it's something like 16, somewhere between 16 and 20 different poses. So if you're having an issue with kind of one of them, it's going to spiral over into some of the other ones. Um, like I said, it is kind of some of the learning curve with motion controls. And I do feel some of it's acceptable. You're gonna figure out the games, and once you kind of get it, then you get it, and you won't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are a little bit harder than other ones because then you have one where it uses the infrared, and your hand has to be kind of like in the right spot from the infrared for it to find what it looks for. And I've had it where it's just kind of like maybe not quite or on the threshold, and you'll have some difficulty getting it. So some of it's just kind of a learning curve. That said, when it works well, it's very classic WarioWare, exactly what you want it to be, chaotic and all over the fucking place, which is great. When it doesn't work, it's frustrating, and you're just kind of like, why did I lose this? I don't know. No clue. You don't. It's a problem too with WarioWare. The games are only 3 to 5 seconds long, so it's like if something goes wrong, you really don't have time to think about it because you're on to the next one already. So, I do really like just kind of, along with Clash of Penguin name, there is actually a scenario in this game, like in the story, where like you're just like having like a picnic or something, and then these penguins come out of nowhere and attack you, and they're all like buff, like kung fu, like penguins, and they're like battling you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's WarioWare. It's random. I don't even know what to tell you. It just makes no sense. But it's ridiculous, and I love it. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then they have like the kind of mix them up modes where they have all those things. They have a bunch of Nintendo themed mini games, which are always I think for most people the highlight of the WarioWare games we're playing through. A bunch of kind of maybe quintessential Nintendo moments with those quick little micro games. So you have a bunch of that stuff. But I would say overall, it works pretty well for what you need to do. Trying to think if there's anything else like super notable about it. Doesn't take terribly long to get through. Like I think usual for WarioWare games. Probably took me maybe an hour or two to get through the story mode. I think the biggest kind of limiting factor was just kind of myself.
Okay.
There's just a point where I'm just like, I've had enough moving and shaking for the day. I'm done. So you get that, but I mean, I think over the 3 or 4 days that I've had it, I've gotten a couple hours into it. So it's not like it's not like it's physically demanding. It's just there's a point where I'm just kind of like, I just want to sit down and relax. I don't have the energy to be swinging around like a wild person. It also too kind of one other side note there. This game, and it kind of actually requires you to use the wrist straps, not like in the hey, don't break your TV kind of requires you to use the wrist straps. It's more like some of the poses actually expect you to let go of the Joy-Cons and just let them drop. Or maybe that's kind of the other side of the thing. Maybe you're picking them up, and that's kind of where it is. But yeah, some of the poses really do kind of play to that functionality. There's another one where it is, what is it? One of the types of games actually has you using the Joy-Cons, but also it's not entirely motion dependent. It also does have some button controls in between the different poses.
Okay.
So it's pretty much any button on there. But as you know, those kind of L and R buttons can be very difficult to hit without the I don't even know what to call them. That little extra piece that kind of slides on the side with kind of the button extenders. That has the wrist straps on them. So if you don't have it, it becomes very difficult to do those mini games because those are hard enough to press on their own. So yeah, but yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I like the chaos. I like what's there. I still have a couple modes left to unlock, but they're like the usual WarioWare modes where it's like, all the games and just kind of at random. Actually, that one I did unlock. I've just been playing through that one. But
Okay.
the ones where it's like, it's like the highest level of difficulty or faster time, like those kind of things. I haven't unlocked those ones yet. I think I have like maybe 2 more modes to unlock. It looked like. But yeah, I mean it's fun. It's WarioWare. You know what you're getting into. Do you have any questions on it?
Not really. This sounds like it would be fun.
Yeah, this is
Give it a go at
definitely
some point.
yeah, definitely better than the other WarioWare game. Like I said, that came out like 2 years ago, where because that one was, I mean, it was, I guess, WarioWare game, and they were trying something different, but it just didn't really take off as well. Because in that one, it was, you had the mini games, but you play as a different. You could like pick which character you wanted to play as, and each character had different like abilities in the level. And that sometimes made it very difficult. Like certain characters were almost impossible to play certain micro games with, and it was just, I don't know, just not really well thought out. I think in like execution, it was too far away from what WarioWare is traditionally. This one is definitely closer to what you expect, and this one feels like basically like Smooth Moves too. I like Smooth Moves. I thought it was a lot of fun, and you definitely see a lot of that here. You see the evolution of a lot of the Smooth Moves stuff that they had. The poses I feel like were very much so like Smooth Moves was. So they do a really good job kind of building on that legacy. So yeah, I mean I would recommend it. It's WarioWare, so mileage may vary. If you're just gonna play by yourself, expect the game to last maybe a couple hours. If you're gonna play multiplayer, there's a lot more to do there.
Okay.
Also, just kind of one thing, and this is not the only week or Switch game that I had that does this, but it annoys the shit out of me when I forget about it. Because if you suspend the game, like I did the other day, like I finished the game, suspended it, walked away, then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play something else, and then I picked up my Pro controller and like go to turn it on, and because WarioWare was the last thing that was played, it's like, no, thank you, you can't play with that controller, and it just disconnects it, and I'm like,
what the fuck? That's weird.
Yeah, anything that's like Joy-Con or touchscreen only, it will not let like a Pro controller connect to it.
That's
so
weird.
Not even for like to get back out to the home screen. It's like, nope, you can't use this. And you can boot up the system, you can unlock it, but it won't let you do anything then. And so it's like I had to get up and just use my Joy-Cons or the Switch itself and go back to the menu just so I could connect that controller to it. And then, yeah, it was just kind of annoying. Yeah, there's that. Otherwise, other things I've been playing, I guess maybe just a couple like side note things. I finished up Mario Sunshine, which I started a month ago when I was on vacation. And the only reason I'm talking about it, I've talked about Mario Sunshine a couple times on this podcast, is because I just had to say a couple of things. This game, I know people like Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
And I realize that Mario Sunshine may be, incorrectly, some people's favorite Mario game. There are reasons why you may like this game. I understand that. It's got a fun tropical theme. It's got things you can do with water. But my God, is it a horrible 3D platformer? I hate this game so much after yesterday.
Why do you hate it? Actually, you know what? Let me take a guess. All right?
Okay. Yep.
Pachinko level.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember. I think I mentioned this briefly when I picked it up last time. But I was like, so when the game came out, if you remember, when it came out, Mario 3D All Stars, and I could play it again on the Switch, I went through and got all 120 shines, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. This is the dumbest thing. I'm never doing it again. So when I picked it up this time, I'm like, this time I'm just going to beat it, and I'm only going to do the bare minimum of shines. I did one extra just because I just was conveniently right next to it. But I did the bare minimum. So just basically every stage I just went in, did the 7 shines, and then left, and that was it. And that I think is my first fundamental issue with the game. Because the game has 120 shines, you only have to get 49 of them, and you have to get those 49 of them. There's no like, oh, I don't want to do this one, I'll get a shine from somewhere else instead. No, you have to get those 49 shines, period. If you get any extra ones, doesn't matter. Doesn't change anything unless you get 120. and then you get the extra screenshot at the end. Everything else is just waste of your time fluff, except for those 49 shines or whatever.
Okay.
So dumb. That I realize just irritates me. But then, of those 49 shines, 7 of them, one in each level, is that stupid chase Shadow Mario around thing. Dumb. I don't necessarily hate the pure platforming levels sometimes, but some of them are dumb for lots of reasons. I think the one that gets me, I don't know. I don't mind them being difficult, I suppose. Difficulty is not the issue. It's the randomness of some of them. Like there's one with Piantas where it's if you're not straight on where you want to go, it's gonna launch you at a mad angle and you're gonna go right off the side of the screen. That kind of stuff's annoying. So there's that. And then sometimes there's just certain levels are just not made like other ones. Like Pianta Village, that's not a fun stage. I don't think any of the shines are fun in that stage. But it's everything's on fire. All the people are on fire. You're on fire. Everything's on fire. Yoshi's on fire. It's just I don't know. I just don't. I was just very frustrated with it yesterday, and it was just everything that was going on was just obnoxious. But as I said, I think it kind of boils down to I don't know. The game puts on a nice show, but there's a lot of fluff there. It really was not. There has to be a story behind the making of this game. There's no way that they finished this game and were they basically made a low tier platformer and were this is great. Let's put it out as our flagship Mario game and people will love it. No, there's too many issues. There's no way. There's no way. You think about it, Mario 64, you had tons of variety. If you wanted to skip around stars and do different things, you had the ability to do that. If you there was not so much because Mario Sunshine even has all those stupid blue coins you have to get. That's such a good chunk of the shines just spent running around collecting blue coins. Yeah, I just don't get it. Then you have Galaxy again, so much level variety, so many different new ideas. This one they're just kind of let's just make everything tropical themed. I mean, sure, you're on an island. That's kind of the story you want to go with. But, you could have had, I don't know, a ski area on the island. You could have had more level variety. But everything really is just kind of water. And then they're we can't think of any new creative levels. So let's just stick. I don't know. Everyone is just kind of the same kind of thing over and over again. It's oh, introduction level. Oh, platforming level without your flood. Oh, go chase Shadow Mario. It's just very repetitive. I don't know. Like I said, I just found it to be very frustrating this time. And I was just very struck by just how I don't think the game I've ever gone through and just played the bare minimum shines before. I usually will just go through and just do whatever I just kind of feel like. But I think once I realized this time that you're just absolutely stuck at doing those 49 shines, just kind of pissed me off. So yeah, it's my Mario Sunshine rant. Game sucks. But for people who like it, there are acceptable reasons to like this game. But gameplay is not one of them. Unless you talk about the water stuff. I mean, I'll give you the water things. But the repetitiveness and the variety, no. Mm-mm. A lot of beef with this game now. A lot of beef with this game. It is your favorite 3D Mario, though, right?
No, it's probably Odyssey now.
Yeah. Odyssey's so much better. Honestly, everything is better. So, that's fair. I don't think so. But if someone wanted to rank Mario Sunshine higher than Mario 64...
I would 100% rank it higher than Mario 64.
Yeah.
Mario 64 has not aged well in the least bit. It is a good game. It is a perfect, time capsule for a 3D platformer of its time, and it really brought the genre forward as a whole, and it's a very important game. But there's a reason why speedrunners keep breaking it every single fucking day more and more. And it's because, as good as the game is for when it released, it's not now. It's aged like fucking milk. And it's so easy to find new ways to break it on the daily. And it's just not a fun game to play anymore, in my opinion. More so than other platformers that came out during the time. Like, I would rather play Banjo-Kazooie again. Not Donkey Kong 64, but I'd rather play Banjo-Kazooie again.
Trash.
I would much rather play Banjo-Kazooie again, or Banjo-Tooie, easily over Mario 64. I feel like there's a lot more, I don't know, cohesion, and it kind of flows and introduces new things throughout that game. When you go with Mario 64, it's like, all right, you got the metal cap, you got the flight cap, that's it, and that's really all there is to it. Like, and then you have a bunch of really kind of jank stages, and I just think that Banjo-Kazooie is a better 3D platformer overall. And but I do think it's really fun to watch people break Mario 64. I will sit down and I will watch a speedrunner absolutely destroy Mario 64 and find like new tech and interesting ways to break it. So I do think Mario 64 is a game that's infinitely rewatchable, or like there's always going to be something new to find out about that game, but I don't think it's fun to play anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is dated in some ways, for sure. And that's kind of when I was like, well, some people like it, Sunshine better. I mean, I think, and especially too, it kind of
Sunshine's just very vibrant. It, like, looking at it, it's very vibrant. It's very nice. It has like a vibe to it that is just like the epitome of pleasant. That's how I feel about Sunshine. And I'm not necessarily that it's like a really good game or anything, but like I really love the vibe of Sunshine, like the island, all of that stuff. It's just very fun and interesting. I would say like the Mantis level is probably the point that I remember getting frustrated with the game. Some when I went back and went to replay it. So there's always a point where I'm like, I don't care. But like looking at it as a whole, and then looking at like the different aesthetics of the levels and everything, it's always so just, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun and it's pleasant to look at. And Mario 64 I don't think is that. So I would put it definitely above Mario 64. I mean, I'd probably say like Galaxy 2 is like the better 3D platformer out of those two, like Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. So my like list would probably honestly be like Odyssey, Galaxy 2, Sunshine. That would be like my three, more or less.
Yeah,
so
that's reasonable
when it comes to 3D.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. Like on the aesthetics, like I said, my issue with Sunshine was not the aesthetics. Like I think that's one area I think they did really well with. I think it was just more the variety, and I do agree too. Kind of back to the conversation we had last week. There are some games that are definitely far more important than they are good. I mean, Mario 64 for the time and the standards. I mean, it really was like it literally redefined like 3D platforming like completely. So very important in that regard. But it didn't age well because, there really was a lot of stuff that could have been better. I think Sunshine and 64 are both games that really could.
Mario 64 is the GoldenEye 007 of platformers. And the only one that I would say is probably even worse than that is 110% Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, but that game's just trash. The big difference is, Donkey Kong. Like, Donkey Kong came out like, what? It came out, I think, after Banjo, and I think maybe even Banjo 2. So it kind of falls into the better. You should have been better. Like Mario 64, like I said, it does a lot of things right, and a lot of people, built on those ideas. Like Banjo-Kazooie likely would not have been anywhere near what it was if it wasn't for Mario. To kind of like get the the kind of the groundwork built so they could use that and leverage it.
Yeah.
But like I said, some things that, like I said, some lessons that they they started with Mario 64. I just don't think they carried over into Sunshine like they should have. One thing that was really nice with Mario 64, you go into a stage, they kind of, some of them are kind of set to have you do certain tasks, but for the most part, you walk in and you can do whatever you want. Like, hey, I walked in and I'd rather do the, instead of going to fight, I don't know, King Babam, I would rather go and free the chain chomp from the cage instead. You can do that. You don't have to kind of mess around with things. Sunshine just kind of holds you to a very specific order, and like I said, just does not have that variety there. And the nice thing too is 64. There's some stages where I'm like that one with the the rainbows and like the flying carpets. I hate that stage as well as the clock.
Oh yeah,
you know what?
It's awesome.
I never go to them. When I play it, I skip them.
It's awful. I said awesome, but I meant to say awful. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just it's a nice thing. You just don't have that luxury in Sunshine. So, but like I said, it's definitely dated. The controls are not what they used to be, and we talked about it before, but I say it all the time. I don't know if I'm the only one who agrees with it. I think people are changing their minds on it too, but I'll still say it. N64 and PlayStation 1, ugliest generation of console games.
So
ever.
I actually have some thoughts on that, and I'm definitely not just bringing this up because of the fact that we don't really have that much to talk about today. But I will say, I have been paying a lot of attention to PlayStation-themed, aesthetic games. It's kind of a new genre that's been coming into its own lately. Indie games, indie games have been being remade in the aesthetic of PlayStation 1 games. And I do think that the creativity and the really weird polygonal things that aren't quite right does lead to games looking really interesting, and the aesthetic of it actually adding a lot to the game just in general. There's a few now that I've looked into. There's one that is, well, like I said before, I don't know if I actually told you, but the haunted PlayStation 1 convention thing, did I tell you about that?
No.
So, every year, now it's 3 times a year, a lot of developers, indie developers, get together and have this fully CGI, basically E3. It's 2 hours long. There's a YouTube video of it. You can watch the entire thing. It's insanely fascinating. It's very just interesting to look at. So you've got the skeleton guy that's introducing games that have the PlayStation aesthetic that are based off of the PlayStation 1 graphics and that sort of thing. And they're all horror games or horror adjacent. And they call it the haunted PS1 thing. And some of those games, right, they come together and they make a fake demo disc that they release to the public around different what do you call it? Oh goodness, my brain stopped working for a second. Around different different holidays, I guess. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. And they show off a whole bunch of different creators, and they combine it together with little skits and things. And I mean, it's really, really interesting. There's a 2 hour and 14 minute, and I watched the whole fucking thing. I'm gonna post this in the chat so you can actually see it as well. Okay. I'll put it in just general. So this is a 2 hour and 14 minute conference where everything they're showing off is horror adjacent and has the kind of vibe that a PlayStation 1 game would have. So you've got the really low poly things, but it's using modern technology to make it. And a lot of these games get released on Steam and also on PC, and then also on console as well. And I don't know, this was something that I sat down and I watched start to finish all the way through the whole 2 hours and 14 minutes of it. And the many different things that you could see here that people are coming up with, the different kinds of games that people have come up with, all of them are really, really interesting and really, really different from what you would see normally. And I find it really cool how people have made things like this It's very amateurish, but at the same time, it feels like there's like a lot of love and passion put into this sort of project. And you could see like that, even though it is amateurish, they're putting on some better conferences than like actual, gaming conferences. And it's the stuff here that you can play or that's being created that you'll be able to play in the future is just so different from anything else out there on the market. And I don't know, it's super neat to me. Like this kind of stuff, this kind of really weird side of the internet, it's one of those weird things that most of the time someone like me is the only one that's gonna find this weird shit. But I don't know. They seem to have a pretty decent following. I mean, like the one I linked you to has like 26K, and then like the individual games that are released in it, that they're showing off, they have like thousands of wish lists on Steam and everything, and they all are very different aesthetically to look at. And I mean, I wish listed quite a few of them because some of these look like a lot of fun or really interesting. There was one that looked like a kind of like Silent Hill sort of game, and I was like, that looks neat. If we're not going to get another Silent Hill, then I guess this will have to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing for sure.
And like all the like general ideas of the games, like how you play them, are so out there and nonsensical that it's like, okay, so it's kind of hard to like form a thought on like what you're looking at without like really diving deep into it, and it kind of wants you to do that. So alongside watching the videos, they'll put out demos of some of these things right away, and then you can just go play them, and it's like, okay. And like each one of them has their name in the video where you can look into it and see what it's going to be like. I believe one of the ones that I was interested in, it's already been added to itch.io, so that's cool. Yeah, just all this stuff is super interesting to me, and I actually have been really getting into the PlayStation 1 aesthetic. Now, like old PlayStation 1 games, not so much, but you can do a lot with emulators to make them look modernized without ruining the aesthetic of the game. And it's pretty cool, some of the things. Like Parasite Eve 1 and 2 looks incredible if you like put it on the Steam Deck or whatnot through emulation. And there's some games on PS1 that I think have aged really, really well. And I think the way they look actually adds to the like really ambient vibe of just the game in general that it's going for. And I do like it. I do think N64 looks like a hot dog shit though. Like I can't find a way to really make that look good. There's a few things that I've been looking at that have kind of been going for the N64 vibe, and they seem pretty interesting to me, but like they don't go full into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there are definitely some, like, when we talk about the scale N64 games, definitely there's some that look significantly better than other ones. Like Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
Honestly, borderline GameCube looking. When you compare like, end to N64 life to, maybe launch GameCube titles. Pretty good stuff there. But, when you're looking at stuff like I don't know, Mario 64, obviously, but as I say, a lot of stuff that used the expansion pack, honestly looked much better. Like Majora's Mask definitely had some moments where it looked really good.
Speaking of like Zelda and stuff, I did. It's not from the haunted thing because it's not a haunted game, but I did see recently someone made like a Zelda-like game that looks like the N64 version on Steam. It looks super interesting. I haven't gone and checked it out myself. Like I haven't bought it yet, but it looks like it could be like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really wish I could remember what it was called. I'm actually looking it up right now.
While you're looking at that, just kind of side thought. But you did see apparently Mario Wonder's like super, super susceptible to speedrunners. Apparently they already found like a glitch that let them skip like half the game.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, this game is Valkyrie 64. It even has 64 in the title. I linked the two games I've been looking at that aren't horror themed, but are themed around the PlayStation 1/N64 era that you might find interesting. And yeah.
Oh, very N64-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, like I said, this has become like sort of a choice that people are going with some games that they're making nowadays, like indie titles. And I actually kind of dig it, because seeing this kind of aesthetic, but in 1080p and 4K and what have you, there's something to it. It's really interesting to see it. Now, if you just like look at it like default like 240p original version of the PlayStation 1 or N64, yeah, it looks awful. But when people take the aesthetic from those games, like all the like very sharp-edged polygons and the like rudimentary designs of characters and whatnot, and make like a modern-day title with it, I think it's pretty cool. I think it actually holds up pretty well.
Okay. Yeah. Then, I don't know, the only other thing I was going to talk about this week, and I mean, it could wait till next week, is not anything I've been playing.
Mm-hmm.
But oh man, I'm so excited for Mario RPG.
I'm happy for you.
The remake. Oh man. Because it sounds like Nintendo, I don't know if they've been sending out, if they've been letting people preview it, or if they've just been doing kind of like a hands-off preview. But so much more has come out in the last week since we talked.
I see.
A lot of websites have, lots of video previews going up. Pretty much everything from, I would say, maybe the first, I'm trying to think, 2 or 3 stars is kind of like, seems like it's kind of like free game now.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on there. And some interesting tidbits too, I would say. Apparently they're hinting at maybe an extra secret boss
Okay.
is in the game.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Music is phenomenal. Not that I'm surprised, but just listening to all the work that they've been doing has been excellent. Game looks great. They did make some weird, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's just kind of one of those things that I'm always kind of like, why did you do this? But in terms of like whatever localization they did change some of the names in the game, which I think is kind of weird.
Interesting. Why?
Yeah, like it'll be, I don't know why. That's what I don't understand. Like one of the first kind of major-ish characters you fight, his name is Mac. His name has been changed to Clay Morton.
Why?
I don't know.
That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I don't understand, but yeah. But on the other side of things, seeing like this game in motion, kind of like side by side with the originals, they've done such a great job at like carrying over like a lot of the like sound effects and like some of the like animations, like just redoing what they had done with the Super Nintendo with kind of like updated graphics. It's so nostalgic that I'm very impressed.
Okay.
One of the previews was like, this is the most faithful remake that they've ever played.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you can see it too. Like there's a lot of attention to detail. I was even looking at like I just happened to be watching like a side by side kind of thing. Like even like down to like the tiles in the ground were like similarly placed. So it's like it just kind of on like a random like grass area.
That's
it's
wild.
Like they took the time to like make sure that they were like aesthetically similar. I was like, wow, that's a lot of thought into detail that even I would have, like if you would change the grass pattern there, I would have never noticed it. But looking at it side by side, I'm like, oh, it's the same. And then they showed off some of like the cut scenes now, like when Mallow is chasing like Croco around like the mushroom town at the beginning of the game. Like the way it plays out is like similar, but it's from a 3D perspective instead of from kind of the isometric view now. It looks really good. I'm like stupid excited for this game. So yeah, I'm very, very happy for that. And also too, I guess kind of like early excitement. This weekend they're doing another Tetris 99 challenge, and it's Mario RPG themed.
Yeah, I saw you posted that. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah. So very nice. I'm most excited for it because of the Mario 64 music, or Mario RPG music.
Yeah.
Because it's like all the remastered music. and that is definitely like one of the kind of really nice touches of this game. Like, there's lots of good. The music's excellent.
Yeah,
Like
always
Super
has been.
Nintendo music was excellent, and the remasters, everything I've heard, just so good. I've already been like playing the music on YouTube. I'm like, I can't get it out of my head.
Saw a
So good.
video where someone showed going back and forth between the two musics. It may have been from Nintendo themselves. It had to be, right? But anyway, I was like
They did
listening
show
to it
off
and I
the
was like,
video.
that's really neat. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, it's a really nice touch. We do get games that do that from time to time. Where like, here's the original and here's the new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the fact that it's there, I think is great because there are some songs where it's just kind of like you just love the way that the classic hits, and there's some songs where like the new ones are great. So you get either option. You can do whatever you want.
Yep.
So, yeah. Listen, very happy with everything I've seen from the game so far. I'm really excited to play it. Well, it won't be next week's coming out next week, but it won't be on next week's podcast. So stay
It
tuned
comes. Wait, what? Why won't it be on next week's podcast?
because it comes out next Friday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so it'll come out with the release of next week's episode, but that will be after we record, so I won't be able to talk about it yet.
I gotcha. I understand. I was like, what? What? Why? Why is you're not gonna get it? What's going on?
Yeah, so I mean, otherwise, right now I've just been kind of like lingering through games that I had started this year and have not finished yet. So, so you'll probably hear more about those games next week. Spoiler alert: I started Fire Emblem Engage again yesterday.
Why?
Because I had to finish it. I'm like 5 chapters from the end. I'm like, I just need to finish it and just get it done with.
I guess.
And like I could only stomach one mission yesterday. I turned it on and then I listened to the stupid cutscenes and I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't even. It's been so long. I don't remember the story, but I remember the story. And they're just they're still bitching about the rings. Nothing's changed. And they're just like, we need our rings back. And I'm like, oh my God. Just fucking beat the shit out of this guy and take his ring back. Like, stop. I'm like, I can't with you people. Yeah, so that's what it is. I have like 5 more chapters to get through. I'm gonna do that. Kind of like my kind of tier list right now is I want to finish Fire Emblem Engage, super close to the end of that. I want to finish Advance Wars 1 and 2 remake. I'm super close to the end of that one. And then like maybe like Okami. But I think that's wishful thinking. I'm just stuffing time until Mario RPG comes out because that is
I see.
what it is. I thought about starting the games about for Halloween, such as Resident Evil, and I was like, no, my time really should be spent finishing something that I've already started and have not finished. So that is where it is right now. Resident Evil, I'm sure, will fall into the eternal backlog, and it will be a long time before I play it. But the intent is there. Yeah, I mean, I loved the GameCube remake Resident Evil. It's a fantastic game. When I played it on GameCube, I like unlocked everything, which sounds like when I say it like that, it just makes it sound like it's a very trivial thing. But that game had like the unlocks for that game were like stupid. Did you ever? I don't know how much of that game you played.
Wait, of what?
Resident Evil remake?
Like the 4th one or the one on GameCube? GameCube original?
It's the GameCube remake of the first game.
Yeah, I played it. Played it multiple times.
Do you know like how like stupid the unlockables are in that game?
One's tofu, right?
I don't think that one had tofu.
Oh, okay. I thought they did.
Yeah, so this one had like there's a lot of like unlockable things. So like what is it? So once you beat the game, I'm just looking at the list right now, just so I can like talk about it. Once you beat the game with like Chris and Jill, there is like one of the one of the people who is a Stars member comes back as a zombie with grenades strapped to him, and if you shoot him,
okay,
he'll die. So there's that. There's a mode like in normal where like the item boxes aren't linked. I'm trying to say like the unlocks, so like Samurai Edge beat the game on normal or hard under 5 hours. The rocket launcher beat the game on normal or hard under 3 hours. Those costumes are easy. But you had to beat the game multiple times. or something else that had you beat the game in like I think less than 2 hours. I thought.
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, invisible enemy mode beat the game on real survival mode once. There's something else I thought, but yeah, no, I tore that game apart. And I did like everything I could to like do that. Same thing with Resident Evil Zero as well. I did like everything in there.
Okay.
And Resident Evil Zero had they kind of like weird kind of I don't know. It wasn't really a mini game, but it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I think you had to go through and collect eggs. I want to
Okay.
say or something. But it was kind of like a very like controlled like experience. There was a set amount of enemies in a set like place. I think there was time limits you had to go through. And there's like very like specific amount of ammo available in the game. Yeah, but no, these games are great, but obviously these are like classic Resident Evil, which is very different from action Resident Evil,
Mm-hmm.
because these are like tank controls, and you're much more limited on your resources and like item boxes and things. So yeah, no, very different universe. So, but yeah, I mean, I want to play it, but just like I said, now's not the time.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I got for now. What have you been playing?
I played some of Modern Warfare 2 before Modern Warfare 3 comes out in 2 days.
Yeah.
So for Modern Warfare 2,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up looking into the Battle Pass because it's themed around Spawn, and I kind of
Like
really
comic
like
book Spawn.
yes, like the comics book Spawn,
Uh-huh.
and I quite like the comic book Spawn. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into this, and oh my goodness, is it so cool! I kind of dig it quite a bit. Yeah, I'm like super happy with it currently. So there was first what's the word I'm looking for? There was like a God, why can't I form sentences today? Give me 1 second. Okay, so the first thing was there was essentially a Halloween thing that was still going on when I first got into it, and you would collect skulls from enemies, which were people's souls that you were taking from them, and it was super fucking cool. If you collected enough, then you were able to like cast them in for different items and that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed what that was, more or less, and I got to sit down and play it with some friends, and I mean, I had a blast. It was really fun. I liked everything about it, essentially. And then on top of all of that, there was, like I said, the new Battle Pass, which had Spawn stuff in it, and like everything was themed around like Spawn. So you had like the clown, you had Spawn as like a military outfit, that sort of deal, and then you actually had Spawn that you can unlock as well. And I've been working towards that. I've been playing with some friends. One of my friends ended up buying Modern Warfare 2 because he got it for really, really cheap, since Modern Warfare 3 is about to come out, and he ended up really liking it. And then he decided to buy Modern Warfare 3. And my buddy gifted me Modern Warfare 3 as a Christmas gift. So we're all going to play Modern Warfare 3 come Friday when it releases. So that's a thing, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's Call of Duty has gotten super, super silly at this point. More so than usual. It's gotten to the point where like there was like Nicki Minaj running around while we were playing, and there was people like that, and then there was fucking like 21 Savage and all this other crazy shit, and we were like, this is a fucking clown show, essentially. And yeah, it really was at the end of the day, but we still had a lot of fun playing it, so we were just like, okay, well, this is fun at least. So that's more or less where we were. I will talk about one other thing I played, which I literally forgot to write down. Fortnite had a new update, and the new update was the original map of Fortnite, like from way back when. They released that as a playable thing, and it brought a shit ton of people back in. There were like 5 or 6 million players in the first day alone that came back to the game, and that was nuts. So now basically for right now at this point in time, the map is the original one, like when Fortnite originally launched and when it was at the peak of its player base and everyone was like kind of gushing over it and having fun and whatnot. That's where we're at. We're back on that map right now in Fortnite. And I mean, it's kind of fun again. Like, I was having a lot of fun. They had like the old weapons back. They had all the old areas, but now it's in like UE5. And yeah, it was in, and there's the new movement system as well. So there was a lot there. It felt very familiar, but you know, it's got all the upgrades that came along with Fortnite throughout the years, and now there's a no build mode as there's been for the last few seasons. So you don't have to build anything, you can just fight, essentially. And yeah, that's also been like an absolute blast. But other than that, I really, really haven't played that much. But there is something I wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So Jeff Keighley and people at people at the Game Awards said that on the 13th they will be announcing the nominees. So I was wondering if maybe to fill a little bit of time here, because I'm just kind of chilling. I don't really have that much to talk about because I've been really busy with other things right now. Do you maybe want to try to guess what might be in the nominees for like Game of the Year for the award show?
I mean, we can try to guess what the Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah,
is.
I just meant for fun. I just thought it might be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, not all the categories.
No. I just meant like the big ones, like Game of the Year, game direction, narrative, music, that sort of deal. What do you think might be in these? Like, thinking on what we've seen throughout the entire year, what are some of the games that you think will be here for 2023? We don't even have to go through like the categories. We can just name off a few of the games that we think.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, you're talking about Alan Wake 2.
That's 100% going to be in best narrative.
Yeah.
And possibly game direction.
I'm sure Resident Evil 4 will probably make the list somewhere.
Probably like best action game. RE4 definitely deserves it. Obviously, we're going to have action adventure will be Tears of the Kingdom. That'll be in there somewhere.
Tears of the Kingdom definitely will make a couple appearances. But it's tricky after that, I feel like. Those are kind of... There was a lot of like interesting... Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 probably...
Baldur's Gate 3 100% will be in here, yeah. I actually feel like it has a really good chance of winning Game of the Year.
Yeah, a lot... Oh, it's Spider-Man as well. Probably
yeah, there'll be action adventure somewhere in there, yeah.
But some of the other stuff, I'm just kind of like, I'm sure Nintendo will have a couple titles in there, like Mario Wonder. I'm sure will make appearance in like some categories,
like family, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Probably same thing with like Pikmin 4. But
I think it's going to be like mostly filled with Nintendo stuff, more or less.
Yeah, as it usually is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they'll get like some kind of like easy wins there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say probably their most competitive category or most competitive game for like Game of the Year will be definitely Tears of the Kingdom, which I think is a real contender for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be between that and Baldur's Gate, like easily. Yeah. I think that'll be the driving force, more or less.
I do feel like we'll see a couple duds thrown in there because I feel like they always do that. I don't know if it's like to placate like partners or something, but they'll probably like. I feel like sometimes they round out with like, oh, let's put Diablo 4 in there.
Yeah, it'll probably be like multiplayer or something because it's only
multiplayer.
Or RPG, but yeah.
Like some stuff that kind of like tangentially like fits into some of the categories.
I mean, Street Fighter 6 will definitely be in best fighting and win best fighting. That's an easy win right there, and that game's actually like incredible. So, yeah. I was just thinking about it because I was like, what could show up? What could be there essentially? And then I was also looking at one of their categories that we talked a lot about last year, which was most anticipated game. What the fuck do we have to anticipate in 2024?
Oh, for next year?
Yeah. Like, what would they put in this category? That's what I'm trying to think of.
I don't know. I mean, in terms of stuff that I'm sure, like something. Oh, actually, I don't even know.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I know people are
Yeah,
excited for
yeah,
that
they'll
one.
be in there
That was
probably.
definitely
Maybe.
kind of like
Yeah.
it's possible. I feel like there's stuff that is like about to be announced, but
Probably like Tekken 8 will show up maybe as like a throw that one in there, whatever, have it in there.
yeah,
Persona 3 remake.
maybe.
Uh, I'm like looking at other games and oh, you know what? You know what? I know what will be in it, and I know what will also be the winner of it. Now that I think about it, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
Oh yeah,
That's it. I should have just thought about that actually.
Yeah,
That
look at
is,
that like list of things that are coming out. I mean, you're sure it's not going to be Little Kitty Big City or Mugenics?
That game's actually really fun. Little Kitty Big City is really fun. It's kind of like Goose Game, but as a cat.
I'm sure. It's incredible. Yeah,
but I'm looking at these other things, and I'm like maybe Stalker 2, Hellblade 2, but like we don't have release dates for any of those.
Yeah, and there's some like rumored stuff that could potentially show up next year, and could possibly be announced at
at the actual Game
near.
Awards.
Yeah, and then like they drop like they keep saying Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out one of these years. Something like that could swoop in and make some.
Yeah, but I don't see that happening. I think GTA 6 is kind of in a state of we'll find out about it when we find out about it, and it's not going to be like something that's announced at one of these big shows. I think it's just going to be something that's dropped on the YouTube channel, and they're going to be like, "There you go, get fucked."
Oh, speaking of, they announced the new Mass Effect today.
They did. Oh,
yeah.
Well, there you go. There's another one right there.
So maybe that. I guess they really didn't show up too much of it. People are like, well, maybe they'll show it up at Gamescom, or not Gamescom, but the Game Wars. Maybe they will. Yeah, I don't know. There really is not anything that's like really announced for next year that I think just kind of like.
I mean, like we got those Nintendo games that were announced, and then.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Princess Peach game, but that's not like a most anticipated type game. That's kind of a.
I mean, you mentioned yourself Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, so it's like
that's more exciting for a lot of people because but it's a known quantity. You know what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, that category. I think I'm more interested to see what they come up with for that one because it'd be really interesting to see what they can hobble together for it. Because even Nintendo, they don't announce stuff until they're right on top of it. It seems very likely that we're going to get a new Switch next year. So they're just kind of like, here's some scraps for the beginning of the year. Good luck, whatever. So I don't know. None of the stuff that they've announced for next year, like I said, maybe Thousand Year Door remake could maybe get a nod in there, but I couldn't see it taking that category. I agree with you. Final Fantasy VII is the most likely to be nominated and get that category. There really just is not a lot of WoW games announced for next year, even though there's probably a lot more than they're letting on. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to mention, more or less, because yeah,
and we'll talk about it too once
it's announced next week, basically. Yeah.
Ready to move on to other news?
Yeah, sure. Let's go talk about that.
Yeah, there actually is some breaking news for the day. This was just happened within the last couple hours. Nintendo officially announced the Legend of Zelda movie is.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. They describe it as a live action movie even. So
that's weird.
Yep. So it'll be really interesting to see what they're doing with that. I have a lot more faith now that we've seen, the Super Mario Brothers movie. Obviously, they're taking a lot more care with their properties and making sure that they're developed right. But it'll be interesting to see what it is. They really didn't even give a time frame for it. They're just like, "Hey, we're working on it."
That's weird.
Yeah, that says to me though, it's kind of like, how would I put this? They're moving into the phases where if they don't announce it, it's going to get leaked. So
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's probably maybe they're casting, or maybe they're starting, maybe they're further along in production, but they're past the point of um, you know they keeping things under wraps. Probably too many people involved, it's gonna leak, so they're just like, let's get it out there. Because it sounds like, at least even by Miyamoto's tweet, it sounds like they've been working on it for a while. Let me see what they had written. Let me pull it up again. Yeah, it says, I've been working on the live action film for Legend of Zelda for many years now, with Avi Arad, who has produced many mega hit films. I have asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started the development of the film, with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. Will take some time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it. So
I
yeah.
see. Okay.
Yes, so that'd be interesting. Actually, speaking of Miyamoto, there was an interesting story. Not a story. The what's it called? Did You Know Gaming put out another piece this week about Retro Studios, where they're like, hey, here's a lot of stuff that Retro is working on. They kind of broke down the history of Retro and kind of like their big projects from, you know, basically when they were founded to today. But I think one thing that really stood out to me there, not so much the projects, they had some, I think they've already talked about the interesting ones where they're like, oh, here's the Star Fox game spinoff, here's this, those Zelda game spinoffs that they had. But I think one of the interesting things was when they were talking about like Metroid Prime itself, and they were working on that 3D action game, and Miyamoto kind of did his, hey, those characters kind of look like space pirates. Why don't you make it a Metroid game? But they were talking about how basically like Miyamoto is like, I don't give a shit about Metroid, do whatever the fuck you want with it. And I was like, that's so true. Because they're like, Miyamoto didn't create Metroid, so he doesn't have any attachment to it. And also kind of the recognition that, Metroid had been traditionally a better seller in the West than it had, in Japan. So have a Western studio work on it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I really didn't think about the fact that he was just like, don't care if you destroy this game into a pile of flames.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Because really, I mean, that's really the kind of what was going on with Metroid. If you think about it, like, Metroid skipped the N64, had been a whole generation without it. Really only had, kind of 3 games under its belt, with only one of them really being like standout-ish, which is Super Metroid. So for them to be like, take a third party and be like, hey, yeah, go to town. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting take on it. But yeah, Retro was not really working on anything like too crazy. They showed like a car combat game, and every game that they like had that was canned basically came down to Nintendo being like, nah. Like, it seems like Nintendo really has like a specific set of games that it wants them to work on. Every time they suggested their own, they're just like, nah, we want you to do this instead. They were working on like a Portal-like game, and Nintendo was just like, I don't understand. This is around the same time that Portal came out.
Okay.
And so like the guy was like, he bought a copy of Portal for one of the Nintendo people to kind of like try and see what the game is like, so you can see kind of like what they're going for, like something similar. And he was just like, no, I don't accept gifts. It's a company job. And so it was just like, nope, you wouldn't even try the game.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Retro, apparently, like the former employees just seem to be like hemorrhaging information now. Because Did You Know Gaming has just had so many videos of them lately. So, but I feel like we kind of have a pretty complete history of Retro up until the end of Donkey Kong at this point, kind of with an idea of what they were working on. Yeah, so that, and then the last piece of news I have there, Pokemon DLC. Second piece was officially announced. We talked about it last week, being like should be out by the end of the year.
Okay,
December 14th.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, one last thing, too, news-wise, DLC coming out. The last set of Mario Kart tracks coming out this week. So it'll be out by the time. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah. So I already forgot most of the stages. There's a couple more tour tracks that are like, I think it's like Madrid is like one of them. I don't remember what the other city is. You got Wii Rainbow Road. You got the DK one. I think is the one where you like blast out of the barrel on top of the mountain, which is a very
Okay.
solid stage. And then I think the other ones I really just could not care less about.
I guess that's fair then.
Yeah. That's how I don't know. I feel like that, like with a bunch of Mario Kart tracks. I was watching like a video yesterday where it's like, here's all the 50 tracks that didn't make it into, Mario Kart 8 with the DLC.
And you're like, yeah, I understand. I also don't care.
there was like maybe two where I was like, oh, that was a great stage. I'm surprised that this one. Actually, no, I think there was like four, and most of them were from the 3DS.
Okay.
From Mario Kart 7. 7? I think that was 3DS. Yeah. Well, there's like a couple great stages there, and then they didn't ever come out again. Like the Super Nintendo ones that didn't make it, yeah, I don't really care for the most part. They're flat stages. Ones that I do miss, they don't have the beach level from 64, which I love. You know, the one with the ramp where you like launch up into the cave.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Great level, didn't make the cut. Disappointing. I don't think there's anything from Double Dash that I like particularly missed. Same thing with like the Mario Kart GBA one. I really, honestly, I think it's just me. I never really played the Mario Kart GBA game when it came out. I only ever played it like as like a virtual console game. So I'm really not attached to levels there, and it's the same as the Super Nintendo one, where it's like those Mode 7 like flat levels, which are really kind of boring when they translate them into like 3D. Like it's still a flat stage, so I don't really miss anything that didn't make the cut there. The one stage that like once it was pointed out that didn't make it that I remember really enjoying that didn't make it, Air Fortress from Mario Kart DS.
Okay.
That was excellent. We're like racing through like one of Bowser's like flying ships. That was a lot of fun. And then a bunch from Mario Kart 7, none of the Woohoo Islands made it, which those are great levels. I love when Woohoo Island like shows up in random places. So when it was in Mario Kart, it was excellent, and like the Wii Sports Resort music is fantastic.
Okay.
And it was fun, kind of just driving around that island. But alas, you cannot do it in this game. And then there was another one, like Shy Guy Bazaar. I really liked. That one didn't make the cut. I think those are the stages. I think those are my big ones. Yeah, but that's it. There was one guy was like, I don't even remember what it was. The person who was doing the video is like, Toad's Factory didn't make the cut. He's like, everyone likes the stage. I'm like, I don't even remember the stage, and just watching you play it, I don't care. So there's that, and also too, some of the when you're looking at them too, some of the Mario Kart stages very like samey. Like a lot of them just really look and feel the same. You know, especially when you're looking at like the Super Nintendo ones. They're like Banshee Boardwalk 3, and you're like, oh, okay, it just looks like the other one, except there's less rails or whatever. Yeah, even they're like, oh, DS Rainbow Road didn't make the cut. I don't know about anyone else. Rainbow Roads honestly almost always feel the same to me. I think it's because they all look the same, and I realize that there are differences between them, but they all feel the same to me. Like I just don't care. Like if I had one Rainbow Road or 20, I would still feel indifferent to most of them. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's Mario Kart in a nutshell, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't really know what else to say other than like, yep, that's Mario Kart.
That's Mario Kart. That's that banana peel. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a good Mario Kart pun there somewhere.
No.
That's the slips.
No. I think you need to take a step away and just be done.
I gotta get the shell out of here.
All right.
Yeah, these are great puns.
I don't know about that, Chief. Not so sure I agree with you there, champ. You get it? Because Mario Kart? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. What else?
That was a better pun than anything else. I don't really have much else to talk about. It's kind of been dry for gaming for me. I played some more Dead Cells, right? Like I went back and played more of the Dead Cells Castlevania. And I mean that shit was fun. Like a lot of fun. So if you haven't played that and you've played Dead Cells, I would recommend someone check that out. That's all.
Yeah, I don't have anything else really terribly exciting either. I did actually finish with Vampire Survivors, more or less.
Done.
Yeah, I did every achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I was there. 196 of them.
Okay.
I unlocked all the characters that I could legitly unlock in the Switch.
Okay.
And then I used codes for the other two. Like some of they just involve keyboards. It's just really just not
okay.
You can do. But yeah, no, I mean I went through. I really did everything. I did like all the evolutions. I got all the. I filled up the collection completely. I think there's 2 characters in the bestiary that like I've not seen, but that's it. It's really I've done everything there is. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. So I'll just wait for that new DLC coming out sometime in the near future with the adventure modes. But yeah, no, I don't even have that to fall back on these days. And I checked it too. 50 hours was my time.
Okay.
I had to check it yesterday when I was looking at something else, and I was like, "Oh, let me see how much time I did." Yeah, 50 hours. So that's what it is. But yeah, no, it's a great game. Lots of fun. But yeah, no, that's it. That's all I have. Black Friday deals and stuff are starting to spool out. So there might be something interesting there the next couple of days. But yeah, I don't know. There's a couple games I really want to go on sale. I was just thinking about it the other day because when I was thinking about things to play, I was like, I really wish that this game was whether I could play this game. And I was like, well, why don't I just wait and see? Maybe I'll go on like a cyber deal or whatever.
Yeah.
See what's there. You know, a game I really can get easily suckered into buying right now.
What's that?
If it goes on sale, that Tales of Symphonia remake. I really want it.
Oh
yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
No. Why would you do that?
Because I guess the last patch actually made it like pretty decent.
Okay.
So I guess they went back through and repatched the game. I think 2 months ago, and they fixed like all the big bug stuff. So, granted, it's still a subpar port of a GameCube game.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, because of all the shenanigans they've done, where they just instead of going back to the source code, they keep porting the last port and building on top of it. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's been a long time since I played Symphonia, so I really just want to. But I want to at like bargain bin prices.
Yeah, I understand.
Which I think says a lot considering it's only a $40 game right now. But I want like sub 20. I'll take $19.99, but I want sub 20. No, that's where I am on it. Same thing with Bait and Katos.
Yeah. Then Katos is for me.
I know we were talking about the localization stuff last time, but recently. But yeah, no, it's definitely I don't know. There's just something interesting about going back through and like having like I don't know. It's one thing I like about the Switch. It's like, oh, here's all my old favorite games. So I have less reason to hook up not hook up. The old systems are hooked up. Less reasons to go and find the actual like physical games. Actually, it reminded me too. Some new amiibo came out this week. I had to get the Zelda and the Ganondorf amiibos.
Okay.
Which look very nice. But no, I'm just grasping at straws. I don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, I don't really have that much either.
You ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Well then, thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget to find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
You also check out our website, game-crunch.com, for all of our episodes. Brandon.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, no final thoughts here. I'm good.
Okay. And with me, my name's Mike Anastasia. You can find me online on Clash of Penguin there or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Oh, that reminds me, fun story I forgot to tell you last week.
Okay.
DJ came downstairs one day and I was like playing Vampire Survivors.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "What are you playing?" And I was like, "Oh, Vampire Survivors." And he's like, "Oh, I thought you were playing Minecraft."
What the
And
fuck?
I'm like, they don't look anything alike. And he's like, "Yeah, it looks exactly like Minecraft." He's like, "They're both like blocky." And I was like, "No, this doesn't look anything like Minecraft. Please stop."
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, we're not even same ballpark. So, but A for effort, I suppose.
Yeah.